Hey guys, so today we're going to go through the new Airstrike setup for ASOR operations. So I've already placed all the objects that we require. These three objects here are just for reference about where the airstrike is going to land in relation to the target. So objects you'll need, basic zone, obviously a main to link that zone and a unit to spawn it, usually a command unit. You do not have to have it linked to a main. I've simply done it because I've got it on a suspended zone. You can obviously have this enabled when you walk through a certain area to then trigger the airstrike on a certain area. But this is a good way to get fairly precise airstrikes with multiple different kinds of ordnance depending on what you would prefer, either defensively or offensively, either for or against our own forces. So it can be used with virtually any aircraft in the game. So a couple of things to note. We have one empty target marker here, just an entity marker, so it's invisible on the map, labeled target 1. That is in reference to the code on the aircraft itself. For this particular exercise, we are using the Phantom, F4C Phantom from SOG Prairie Fire, because I wanted to identify napalm as my main ordnance, just to make it visually stunning, I suppose. And here's where we need to include code. So the unit itself is spawned via that suspended zone, and we're using the following code, which will be available in the mission template should you require it. Essentially what the code is doing is creating a loop here where the aircraft is getting the marker position of target 1, which we've got there obviously in the area, and once within a certain range, which I've set to 400 meters currently, and this is important, once the aircraft gets within 400 meters, we then spawn a particular ordnance on the pylons, in this case 4x of the napalm ordnance, and then we drop the ordnance and cancel the loop so it doesn't drop more than once. The importance of the distance here is because I've set it to 400 meters is because of the flying height. So I've set the flying height for this particular aircraft to 300 meters. Obviously, if I had this aircraft flying at 150 meters, 400 meters would be quite excessive, and the ordnance would obviously drop quite early. So you sort of need to manipulate these two values to, I suppose, get the airstrike more on target. In a lot of cases, the airstrike usually lands slightly short, so I've moved, aiming for this obviously middle target here. The actual target marker is sort of in between these two, because he should reach 400 meters around about here, and then start to drop his ordnance on the way through. The other piece of code we're using, we are just using standard vanilla waypoints, so he is just flying straight over the target. That's to get a nice smooth airstrike. If you have him like turning or coming in at an angle too early, the airstrike could be quite off and quite inaccurate, so make sure you've got him on a straight path going over the top of the target. You can obviously do it on angles if you want to. You can have a left to right or a southeast, northwest sort of run. You just have to obviously move the target marker accordingly. And obviously take into consideration with the height factor the actual height of the terrain you're operating at as well. So a plane, flying at 300 above sea level is, if it flies over a 200 meter hill, obviously you need to adjust the distance to the target marker to account for that fact. So the last piece of code we're using is just some ending code here. Once it's completed its move orders, it moves away off to virtually the edge of the map, and then there's some code in here just to delete the vehicle once it reaches that area, so you don't have a random unit just flying around. So let's see it in action. So we'll spawn our zone, which I've just labeled Airstrike. So in this case, the aircraft is spawned. It's starting its attack path. We won't be able to see it just yet. I like to spawn a little bit further out, so you obviously don't just hear the aircraft straight away, just for a bit of immersion's sake. But now we can start to hear the aircraft. And he's reached range of the target, so he's dropped the 4 ordnance in a nice line. And that's fairly accurate. Obviously, if we wanted, a perfectly centered run, we could move the target marker a little bit further to the left, or to the north, I should say. So the aircraft's flown off to the edge there, we can still hear it. And then it will have deleted itself in a second. But yeah, that's the airstrike setup. There will be a template available in the ASOR Discord for anyone that wishes to use it. Thanks, guys.